Shalom, y'all. Welcome to Chichi Global, and I'm Chichi. And today we're going to be talking about time, the value of time, time wasters, and how to manage your time better. But before we do, I want to take the time to thank all of my subscribers that have subscribed to this channel. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for hitting the like button, sharing, and also hitting that bell notification so that you can be notified every time I put out a video. And for those of you that are new to the channel, welcome. Okay, so back to the video. In today's video, we're talking about time. And time has a value. Even though we sometimes don't think about it or we don't put a value on time, we should be putting a value on time, because time is infinitely greater than money. Like one of my mentors, Myron Golden, says, time is infinitely greater than money. How do we know? Because we only get so much time. We're only going to get so much time in a second. We're only going to get so much time in a minute, so many minutes in an hour, so many hours, in a day, so many days in a week, so many weeks in a month, so many months in a year, and we only get so many years to be here. So we know that we're limited on how much time we as individuals have. Therefore, we should value it so much more than money. Why? Because if you lose the things that you buy, you can always go back and get them, especially if you acquire the skills and the understanding and the knowledge. Then there's ways for you to get those things that you've lost, but you won't get time back. You can't roll time back. That's why it's so important for us to understand the value of time. Okay, so let's get into it. I want to go ahead on and read the definition of time, so that way you and I can have an understanding of what time actually means. And I know a lot of times, I know what time means, but I want to make sure that we're on the same page. So let's just get a working definition of the word time. And then we're going to give you some other understanding of the different types of time. Okay, so you have time, which is defined in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary as: time is the continuum in which events occur, progress, and are measured in the terms of the past, present, and future. And if you see me looking off to my left, it's only because I'm looking at my computer for my notes. But it's measured in past, present, and future. Okay, so that's how we look at time. It's based on a linear, a graph of looking at what's behind you, that's your past, looking at what you're going through right now, which is your present, and then looking on that same linear line and looking toward the future of the things that you may get a chance to experience in the future. So that's how we look at time. But there is two different types of measure of time that we're going to be talking about today, specifically Chronos time and what they call Kyrios time, which I call God's time. Okay, Chronos time is defined as the linear, measurable progression of time that we commonly experience in our everyday life. Okay, and it is divided and measured and quantified by the passage of seconds, minutes, and hours. That's chronos, in a chronological order. When you hear the word chronological, that means it's in a sequential order. This happened first, this happened second, this happened third, or this happened at this, time, this time, this time, this time. So it's in a chronological order. It's seconds, minutes, hours. Okay, that's Chronos time. But God's time, or Kyrios time, it generally refers to a perspective on time that is beyond or different from the human experience. In many ways, it has a fluid or non-linear concept where events may not adhere to the strict progression of cause and effect that humans perceive. God's time might be measured as a realm where the divine exists outside the constraints of our conventional understanding of time. It's not conventional. It doesn't have restraints. It's not so much on a linear path or chronological order. Why? Because it's seen more in a fluid or non-linear concept. Okay, so things can occur within our time that's like a miracle. Or things can occur within our time that puts us at all. That's like, how did this happen? You know, this was supposed to happen at this time, or you only had this time. Like some doctors say, well, you only got 3 months to live, and they're not God. So God can come in and he can do what he knows how to do in his timing, and he can extend your life just like he did with King Hezekiah and give you 20, 30 more years. Whereas man wants to cut you off and say you only got 3 months. Here you've lived 15, 20, 30 more years. So that's God's time. God comes in and he can interfere, or he can give us a miracle anytime he wants to, because he doesn't operate in a chronological or linear or chronos time. Okay. His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. So we just need to understand that even though we're operating in a typical time pattern, which is the chronos time, there's another time pattern that actually, if you are a believer, that runs right along, even if you're not a believer, that runs right alongside your chronological time, and that's God's time. Isn't that wonderful? So even though things may seem to, be going a certain way in life, God can bring a breakthrough. God can bring a miracle. He can come in and intercept the things that are going on in your life and change your time in ways that you don't understand. So I'm not going to get too much into that, but I just wanted to kind of get you excited to understand that there's more than just chronological time. There is the divine time. Okay. So with that being said, time is infinitely greater than money. Time, you can't get back. When you are actually sitting down at your desk and you're saying that you're going to work for 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever, 8 hours, there is a value to that time. Even though you may not put value to that time, there's a value. When you're sitting down having a conversation with someone for lunch, dinner, there is a value to that time. When you're sitting down and having conversation with your family, there's still value to that time. It doesn't matter who you're spending time with. It's still valuable and it still passes. And you're not able to go back and get that time back. So you have to really be accountable for the time that you're using and make sure that you're being a good steward over your time. And with that being said, you know how we do it on this channel. Everything that we do on this channel, we look at it through the focal point of the Word of God. We look at it through the world view of the Word of God. So that's why God's timing is so important to us, because this channel is a mindset channel, but we use the Word to get your mind in the proper perspective so that you're walking at truly as the Creator has created you to walk, right? So let's just go back a little bit and let's talk about some scripture readings that's going to really give a firm foundation to this teaching about time. What does the Creator say about time? That's the most important thing that we need to understand. What did the Creator say about time? He set it up. He made everything in 6 days and rested on the 7th day. So obviously there is a time for everything under the sun, and then he has scriptures or in the Bible that you can go and locate so that you can know exactly what he meant by what do we need to do with this time that he's given us. Okay. What is his expectations of what we should be doing with this time? So if you go to Ephesians chapter 5, verses 15 and 16, and I'll be reading it from my screen again. We're going to just take a little look at what the Most High God is talking about when it comes to time. So it says, Ephesians 5, 15 through 16. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Well, that last part is what it is. We know that we're living in the evil days. But we are looking at what he says about walk circumspectly. We're going to look that word up. Not as fools. Well, we already know what a fool is. We're going to have to look that up. But as wise, we know what the wise is. Redeeming the time. Okay. Why? Because the days are evil. We don't know how many days we have. So let's just look at the word circumspectly. He said we shouldn't walk circumspectly. He says we should walk circumspectly. Okay. Not as fools. So we know the foolish people, they don't walk circumspectly. So what does the word circumspectly mean? Well, let's define it. Acting with prudence, careful consideration, and mindful awareness of the potential outcomes of one's actions. It implies a thoughtful approach that aims to avoid hasty or reckless behavior. A thoughtful approach, thinking about how you're going to behave, thinking about how you're going to act. You understand? It's all about you being thoughtful and understanding and have a mindful awareness of the different things that can happen in your life and the actions that you will take toward those things. Okay, so we're not just running around willy-nilly just doing all kind of stuff and not thinking about there is a cause to the effects that we put out there. We're basically thinking about the things that we need to do, and we're looking at it as if I do this, then I can look down the road and see what is the consequences to what I have done. We're using our ability to think about the things that we can do and the actions that we can take. We're also looking at what would happen if we take these actions before we do. So we're using that gift to be circumspect, okay, to be very careful to make sure that we are not hastily making decisions or we're not using reckless behavior, just doing stuff without thinking, killing our time. So we know what the word circumspectly is. And if we are walking circumspectly, and he told us not as fools, then that means that everybody that's not walking circumspectly are walking what? Foolishly. And it seems to me that the wise are using this circumspect way of walking and the fools are not. They're just haphazardly, recklessly doing stuff. Okay, waste of time. So we don't want to be in that category. Continue on with verse number 15 to 16. It says, redeeming the time because the days are evil. Redeeming the time. Well, what does the word redeem mean? We already know what the word time means. So let's go back and look at the word redeem. What does that word redeem mean? Well, you're going to be surprised at what it means because redeem means to buy back or recover. It means to exchange for value. It means to rescue or save. Wow. I had no idea about this definition. I was actually looking at someone teach on this, and they pulled out this word redeem. And when it says to buy back or recover, that means to regain possession or ownership of something by paying a price for it or fulfilling a condition for it. When it says to exchange for value, that means trading something, often like a coupon, a voucher, or points, or something valuable in return for goods, services, or discounts. When you hear rescue or save, in some contexts, redeem, that can mean to save or rescue someone or something from a negative situation or condition. So we are to redeem the time. We are to buy it back. We got to recover the things that we have allowed to be just relaxed and just wasted a lot of time. Now we got to think about how we're going to buy it back, to exchange it for value, and to rescue it or save it from loss. So when you read this scripture now, don't think about it in whatever way you were thinking about. Think about what the Word of God, what the Most High Creator is saying. We have to walk circumspectly. We have to walk with an understanding that we only have a limited amount of time that we can give to people, places, and things. And we have to understand that we wasted so much of it that we have to redeem what we wasted so that we can, from this point on, now that we know how to use it in a valuable way, we're going to make sure we're using it wisely. But the time that we wasted, now we got to redeem it. Now we've got to buy it back. Now we've got to trade it for value. Now we have to save it from loss. So if we don't consider that understanding, we're going to be walking around as fools, just throwing our time away, just giving our time away to all kinds of different activities and things, to people and places, and be angry and upset because we're sitting here saying, man, I shouldn't have wasted my time with that. I shouldn't have wasted my time with that person. I shouldn't have wasted that time on that activity. Where did the time go? What time is it? You're asking all these questions because you did not take the time to sit down and contemplate on the things that you need to organize, put together, and the things that you shouldn't do that are time wasters. And we're going to get into that. We're going to be talking about some time wasters in just a minute. And we're going to be talking about how to manage your time better. It's so important. It's so important, guys. You cannot get this time back. So you must take under consideration what is the best use of your time on a day-to-day basis. On a day-to-day basis. It's so precious. Okay? So let's look at Colossians chapter 4, verse 5. I'm just going to read this one. And it says, and again, that's Colossians chapter 4, verse 5. And it says, walk in wisdom toward them that are without, redeeming the time. There it goes again. Redeeming the time. Walk in wisdom toward them that are without, redeeming the time. Those that may not have, you have to walk in wisdom with those that may not have what you have. You have to walk in wisdom to understand they may be operating in a poverty mentality, or they may be operating, not just in a poverty mentality, but just being, straight out poor, not having what they need. And it's not because, it's not available to them. It's just they're not walking with wisdom like you are. They're not redeeming that time. But you have to understand that you have to redeem the time, even though they may not. So that means that you can't always walk hand in hand with people that have nothing going on. They may love the position that they're in. They may love to be living in lack. They may love to be living in a poverty mentality. They may just want to talk about doing things and never do something. But you have to understand that you can't waste that kind of time with them. Some people, you have to understand that it comes a point in time in your life that you have to disconnect and let those people go because they are time wasters, And I know sometimes it may be hard because it's people that you love, it's your family and your friends. But hey, it's your time. It's your time, not theirs. And I'm sure if the shoe was on the other foot, they'd be looking at the same way. This is my time. I don't have to give it to you. If you're not going to value it the way I value it, I don't have to give it to you. So let's look at one more verse. And that's going to be Psalms 90 and 12. It says, so teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts to wisdom. Number our days. That lets you know your days are numbered. That lets you know that you only have so much time that you can give to a project, that you can give to people, that you can, go to places and whether you're enjoying it or whether you're doing business activity, time is of the essence. Time is limited, and you have to understand how to divide your time up. You have to understand that you need to spend more time in activities that are going to produce something, activities that's going to prosper you in whatever area, then an activity is going to be a negative effect on you or your family or your life. What do you mean by that? Activities that's going to prosper you, which means your health, exercise and making sure that you keep this body exercise that the Father gave you, making sure that you stay healthy, you're eating healthy. Take time to cook the food that you need to cook. Shop around and get the proper healthy food that you need to shop around to get, not just for you, but to extend the life of yourself, your spouse, and your family. And if it's just you got that time. You have to make that time to get the things that you need to stay healthy, supplementing with different supplements, even if you're young, our food doesn't have the same nutrients value that it used to have. So you need to take the time to look up and get a good supplement to keep your health going, so that's the health and wellness. And then not only that, but your mind, sitting back and taking the time to think, sitting back and taking the time to meditate on good things. Not just Netflix or going to the movies or looking at all of this corrupt stuff on TikTok or whatever is a distraction to you, but feeding your mind healthy stuff. See, whatever you put on your mind, whatever you put in your mind, it's going to display on your life. Okay, it's going to be part of your life. It's going to be part of how you live. If you just put garbage in, then what's going to display on your life? Garbage. If you spend so much time in a garbage environment or reading garbage books or looking at garbage movies or whatever, and listening to garbage music, that's what's going to display on your lips, and that's what's going to display on your life, right? So we have to understand that that time that we have is so precious that we need to be feeding our minds good stuff, meditating and looking at good stuff. And then not only that, but taking the time to think your way through problems, or think your way through, solve these problems before, some of them you can solve before they occur. Some of them you can just sit down and think about as they are occurring. Instead of you reacting to it, you can respond with ability. Okay. And so we need to feed our minds good things to keep it in a well-balanced mental state. So if you're sitting down watching crime in the city all the time, all you're going to have coming out and displaying on your life is fear and doubt and unbelief, because all you're watching is crime in the city, or you be angry all the time or whatever. But that's what's going to display on your life. If you're sitting down looking at the Oxygen channel and male bashing and male beating, okay, I'm not going to get into that. But anyways, that's what's going to display on your life. Okay, so we need to understand that whatever we feed ourselves physically is going to display on our bodies. Whatever we feed ourselves mentally spiritually is connected to your mental. That is what's going to display on your life. Okay, and so therefore you have to keep understanding that you only have so much time. So with our time, we have to divide it between personal and business. We have to have a good work-life balance. We can't let our personal life veer into our work life. We can't let our work life veer too much into our personal life. So there's another balance of time, you see. But it all can be done by simply going and looking at activities that's going to cause your life to prosper physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially. If it's going to take you through a flow, prosperity just means flow. If it's flowing in a great direction, if you see a stream and all it's doing is everything is going in the right direction, it's a beautiful stream that's just flowing, nothing's blocking it, nothing's stopping it. That's what you want to be in. You want to be in that flow. Not only do you want to be in that flow, just you're by yourself, but with your family, flowing in goodness, flowing in joy, flowing in relationships. Then you go to your business and your revenue is flowing in. There's creativity happening. Things are being creative. New products and services are coming out and you're helping people solve more problems and issues. You're flowing in your business. And then your relationship is flowing, is flourishing with your spouse because you're taking the time to get to know them. You're taking the time to understand their needs, the things that they value, and they're taking the time to understand you. And so now you are really can become one. And your relationship is flowing with your children, understanding how they operate, understanding the things that they need, understanding each child is different. And you have to really, cultivate the relationship you have with each individual child, and making sure that they're getting what they need so their lives can flow. Because remember, you're going to pass the baton on to them. So this is what I mean by prospering in the time that you have in all of these areas of your life. You want it to flow. You want it to be productive. Okay. And so that's why we have to put more value on our time than what everybody else does. It doesn't matter. Mama, sister, daddy, brother, cousin, or whatever. You only get a certain amount of time. They only get a certain amount of time. But if anybody values your time, take a look at this camera. If anybody values their time, it must be you. It's got to be you. You have to value your time greater than what anyone else does. And keep yourself in prosperity, producing events. Keep yourself in prosperous events that are flowing in your life. Okay? Personally, business, emotionally, family, all of that. Health, mental, spiritual. Let it flow. And you put the value on that. You put the value on your time. Don't let anyone else put a value on your time. It'll never be the same way. Just like if you decide to become an entrepreneur, and I know a lot of you that are watching this channel, you're entrepreneurs, or you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, or you might be already into 5 or 10 years of being an entrepreneur. You know how valuable your time is. You cannot allow other people to put a value on you. You put that value on you because you know how much time you put into yourself to learn the skills that you know. You know how much time you put into yourself and how much value you created so that you can go out and help others. So let's move on to time wasters. We're going to talk about time wasters today. And I'm only going to give you a few because I don't want this video to be too long. But I do want to give you some ideas on time wasters. And I want you to see, if you sit down, like right now, you can go and grab a pen and pad or just take your phone out. And as we talk, I want you to take maybe about just a few seconds, maybe 30 to 40 seconds right now, and think about the things that you do that waste time. Just think about it. Think about it as you're sitting down or looking at your day. You sitting at your day, let's say yesterday. What did you do yesterday that was a time waster? Were you as productive as you wanted to be? Or did you find yourself looking back and saying, man, I should have got this done. Man, why did I do this? Man, I didn't get this done. Oh man, I wasted a lot of time. If you're finding yourself doing that, it's time to start evaluating your day and looking at your time wasters and how to cut those time wasters out of your life. Easier said than done. I know, but if you get into the practice of being more present in your work time, being more present in your business, being more present in your personal time with your family, being more present in your relationship with your spouse, you will find that you will see that you're going to be able to really look at those time wasters and say, wow, this was a waste of time. Why did I spend so much time doing this? Why didn't I do this way? You have to evaluate it. If you value your time, you're going to have to evaluate the things that's been wasting your time so that you can know how to cut the fat, get that out of the way so that you can put it into more income producing activities or prosperous producing activities. Okay, so let's look at just maybe 7 of them or maybe 5. We'll see. One of them is social media. One of the biggest distractions in the world for probably the world population is social media. We're not going to just talk about one channel of social media. There's so many of them out there. But social media can be a great way to stay connected with your family and friends, but it also is a major distraction. It is important to set limits on your social media use, especially during your work hours and family hours. Who wants to sit at the dinner table with everybody on their cell phone and we got our little meal here and we eat a little cell phone. Nobody's talking to each other. Or if we are talking to each other, it's such a passive conversation that we're not going to remember what anyone said to each other. When we're really supposed to be sitting at the dinner table with no phones, our food right there in front of us, and let's just discuss how everyone's day has been. That's what I used to do with my kids when they were, here. All of my kids are older now. I got 6 of them. They're all older, 20 plus. But when they were younger and growing up, this is what we did so that we will provide an environment where they can speak and they can have themselves to be heard at the dinner table. And we didn't just do it for dinner. We had times when we would just gather around as a family and talk. But that's what I'm saying. I look at a lot of families. I visited their homes and they're having dinner together and they're on their cell phones, everybody from the mama to the daddy. And I'm like, why are you inviting me here? Nobody's talking to each other. You're not even talking to me. Social media is a great distraction. Turn those notifications off. One of the biggest things you can do with social media is have a limited time on how much time you spend on social media. And if you are an entrepreneur, and I'm speaking to you guys that are entrepreneurs, use social media for what it is, business. But have a set time on how and when you use social media. Have a limit. And have a limit on how much you show on social media. It's okay to be social, but some things you have to really practice some discretion. So if you're going to do social media, have a set time. And I would recommend that you don't have these apps on your phone. Or if you do, if you're just an influencer that, you always have to have it on your phone, I understand. But that's the reason why you're always getting these notifications and things going off, because you have those apps on your phone and they're going to ring every time. They're going to ping you just like Pavlov's dog. That bell is going to ring and the first thing you do is run to get your phone. So if you got to have these apps, When you're getting ready to do some serious work, turn them off. When you're getting ready to have a conversation with your family, turn them off. When you're having a conversation with your coworker, or let's say you're operating a business and you're getting ready to go into your work time, hey, turn that thing off until you're able to come back to it. You know, make it only available for your break time. And when it's time to work on your social media, work on it. When it's time to get off of it, get off of it. It could be a lifesaver. I'm not just talking about Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. You know how much time you just surf on YouTube. Video after video. Oh, short. This one is good. I like this one. Y'all seen it? I'm going to share this one. Oh, this one's so good. Before you know it, you got 2 or 3 hours that you can sit down there and watch YouTube shorts, Instagram reels. Come on. What could have you done with those 2 or 3 hours? Okay, let's move on. The next one is perfectionism. Perfection is you trying to be flawless. While it's important to strive for excellence, perfectionism can lead to procrastination, anxiety, and stress. You're not going to be perfect at everything that you do. And everything that you do is not going to be perfect. Which means that you do it to the best of your knowledge and understanding. You do it to the best that you know how to do. But once you produce something, it's going to get to this point where it looks great. Everybody that you seen it, the editor thinks it's wonderful. Everyone that you let it have read it, they think it's wonderful. Put that product out there and let's go. You can correct as you go. Perfection, is a pipe dream. It's a killer of creativity. Put your product out there and as it needs to be edited or corrected, correct as you go. Okay. The next thing is lack of organization and planning. You know, you want to get things done, but you have no plan. You set no organization in place. Lack of organization and planning can lead to wasted time, and it can make it difficult to find important information and complete tasks efficiently. If you have not sat down and planned out this activity, let's say you have a project that you need to complete, then there is a plan that you need to put in place on how all of this stuff is going to come together. You need to understand how you're going to organize it. Who's going to organize it? Who are you going to use? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? Get a plan in place and make sure it's structured well. So when you get ready to go into it, you can just hit, bam, that's A. Bam, we knocked out plan B. Bam, we knocked out plan C. Susan got D. Jeff has E. You see what I'm saying? It's planned. It's organized. By the time you look up, bada bing, bada boom, what? It's done. The project is complete. And now we can put it out to the world. Okay? Lack of planning and organization is another time waster. Ooh, multitasking. That's a time waster. Multitasking is the act of doing multiple tasks at the same time. While it may seem like a way to save time, multitasking can actually be less productive than focusing on one task at a time. And that is so true. I am a mother of 6, and I know you cannot. You have one child talking to you in this ear, another child talking to you this ear, and then you having a conversation also with your husband. You are not going to be present for any of those conversations. You might get a few seconds of what each child said, and you definitely didn't hear your husband. It doesn't work. I mean, now if you're just doing activities like you're changing the baby, you're cooking at the same time, those are, things that you can do, without thinking. It doesn't cause you to have to apply your time or your conscious mind to it. It's an unconscious activity. It's on automatic. But if you are at work and there's things, or you're at your business and there's things that you must complete, you cannot multitask all of these things, trying to be in the meeting, looking at your email, clearing out your text messages. That's not going to work. You have to sit down and organize your time, just like you organize your day, and do one task proficiently and go to the next. One task proficiently and go to the next. I would not recommend multitasking unless you're doing things that are on auto. Like I said, you're cooking, chopping, your food up, talking on the phone. You still have to be conscious because you can burn your whole food up doing that. You can burn your meal. But those are the activities that you can kind of, say you can multitask. But when it comes down to really getting down to the nitty gritty of business or your personal life, you want to be present in every activity. Therefore, you can only do one activity at a time. And let me pull one more out, not knowing when to say no. That's it. That is a big one for most people. Most people are too afraid of conflict. I don't know why. But they'll just say yes to everything. That most people say, oh, yes, I can do it. Yes, I can do it. Oh, yes, you can come over. Yes, I'll do that task. Yes, I'll go here with you. When you know that's not what you want to do. And it's going to waste a lot of your time. Practice saying no. It's okay to say no. No keeps you mentally sane. No keeps you secure in yourself and making sure that you're doing the things that you want to do. And I'm not kidding when I say mentally sane. If you say yes to everything and every activity, you are going to blow a fuse. It's not good for you to give your time to everyone and everything. That's why you have to have organization and you have to have some planning. You have to have planning and organization in your personal life, planning and organization in your business life, and with your family and your relationships with your friends that are outside of your family. There has to be planning there. You can't just run off by the seat of your pants and do things. And then if you do this, then this is out of place, right? So learn how to say no. It is important to be able to say no to requests that will take up too much of your time or that are not a priority. Learning to say no can help you avoid feeling overwhelmed and stressed. Well, that's how you blow a fuse, by saying yes to everything. You're not built to say yes to everything. And everyone is not going to say yes to what you have to do. You say yes to everybody. You let one of your friends, you ask them to do something. Oh, no, I can't do that today. Oh, no, I can't do that today. Oh, no, I won't be available to do that. Why can't you do the same thing? Why can't you stand up and say, no, that I don't have the time for that. I have to do this. No, I don't have the time for that. I have to do this. That's one of the biggest time wasters I see when it comes down to you, whether you're running a business or whether you're with your family and friends. You have to learn how to say no. Okay. Now we spend a lot of time with it. I can give you some more of things that we waste time with, but this is up to you. You need to sit down and begin to think about the things that have been wasting your time. You have to think about the things and the activities that you've been doing on a day-to-day basis, a minute-to-minute basis, and say, why am I doing this? If you're not as productive or focused as you want to be, it's because there's something going on with a time waster or some time wasters. And you need to figure out how to get rid of those time wasters. So let's look at some strategies for overcoming time wasters and becoming more productive. Let's just pick a few. I'm not going to, I know this video is getting a little long, but this is important. This is just as important as making hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. You'll never get to making hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars if you don't get this right. You'll never get to the point where you get your business from this small business to a medium-sized business if you don't get this right. You'll never go from a self-employed to a small business owner if you don't get this right. You'll never go from being single to married if you don't get this right. And if you do, without organization, even in your marriage and your relationship, there's a problem. Okay? If you're doing a lot of time wasting. You may not seem as a problem, but your spouse might. Okay? So let's take a look at these strategies here. One of the things you can do is, like we said, for your organization, is to plan your time effectively. Take some time each week to plan and schedule and make sure you're allocating enough time for each important task. Each day, before you go to bed, you should have a goal list in mind of the things that you want to create. Now, I'm not talking about 50, 100 different things. I'm saying 3 tasks for your business, 3 tasks for your personal life, and 3 tasks for just other things, just ancillary things. That's 9 tasks. Or you made 2, 2, and 2. But you're going to have these things lined up because you do have your personal life, you got your business life, and then you have these ancillary things which are your friends and family outside of those main tasks. and you need to set an organization, a schedule as to, what you're going to be doing. Set your goals, set your tasks, and then we just kind of look at your schedule and say, okay, I know at this point in time, I've got this task. This point in time, I got this task. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. And if that's something that, you want to sit down and have a strategy call with me on, you can, because that's what I'm all about. I'm helping you to organize all of these things, not just with, mindset, but mindset has a lot to do with time management. Okay. Another thing you can do is delegate tasks whenever possible. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Don't multitask. Give these tasks out to people that can complete the task and do it well. The things that you don't do well, you need to delegate. Therefore, you won't have to multitask. Does that make sense? Okay. Saying no to requests that are not priority. We just talked about that. Learn how to say no. No, I cannot do it. No, I can't do it. And mean it. And don't do it. And move on to your next task. If it's not beneficial to you as to the direction that you're going, or if it's not priority, say no. There's nothing wrong with saying no. Okay? Use technology effectively. We talked about turning off that cell phone so that you can get rid of all that social media at a certain time when you're on a break, or put it on a time limit. Put social media on a schedule. I'm going to look at social media at this time and this time only. When I'm at work, I'm turning all this technology off. Use it responsibly. It's very important because it'll suck you in. It'll waste a lot of time. And then taking care of your personal life so that it does not interfere with your work life. Remember, we talked about a work-life balance. We talked about that. All of those things you have to sit down and be strategic about your planning and organization so that you know how you want your world to run, how you want your ideal days to go. And remember, the things that you are not good at, delegate. If you're up to a point where, that tech is not your thing, or let's say organization is not your thing, call someone that has organizational skills, sit down with them and tell them what you want to do, and ask them to help you create a flow chart or some things that, ways to plan and organize. Help you with that skill. You may have to learn that skill. Or you may not want to do the skill at all, so you need a VA. You may need a personal assistant. Okay? Think about these things. They're not common to us anymore, but as we increase in our activities and as technology increases, especially with AI, there's so many things that we can now take some of our workload and put it either on someone, or let someone set up, some type of program that will help stay us afloat, keep us afloat, so that we don't have to do all these tasks ourselves. Okay. So I hope and pray that you will look at some of these time wasters. You'll sit down today. This is your homework assignment. If I were mentoring you or I was your coach, I would have you sit down for at least 5 minutes with whatever type of recording device you want to use, whether it's your phone, your tablet, your computer, or you just want to speak to it in a recorder, or let's say you want to write it down in a journal, however you want to do it, and take about 5 minutes to think about your day, the day that you are in, and say, what have I done that have wasted my time today? Write all your time wasters down. And then by you looking at those time wasters, you are now thinking about it and saying, okay, I need to cut this fat out. I need to cut this out. How can I be more organized? How can I stop multitasking? Who can I say no to? You'll be able to really see. And if you really do this for 7 days or even 3, let's say you just do it for 3 days, you can really see where your time wasters are. And now you've got something to work with. Now you can start planning and organizing and removing a lot of those time wasters and gain more of your time back so that you can be more productive and more prosperous in the things that you're doing. So with that being said, thank you so much for joining me today. You know that I am a mindset coach. My name is Chichi Global. I'm an international mindset coach and speaker. And the things that I do to help you with organizing your time, with time management, goal setting, anything that has to do with mindset and helping you to upgrade your mindset, level it up, to remove that stinking thinking, get rid of that negative talk, and to bring you up higher to a higher mindset, a higher organization, higher goal setting, get yourself upgraded to a better way of thinking, better way of doing, and therefore it's going to affect your creativity. You'll be more creative, and then you'll see your revenue flow greater. Because if you can think more creatively, then you'll think about creating more ways to bring in more revenue. And that's where I come in at. And if that's you and you're ready to go for it, then go ahead on and book a call with me. Look for the link in the description of this video down below. You'll see a link for my Calendly link, and you can schedule a strategy call with me, and we can move forward as to help you with getting unstuck in whatever area you're in. Let's get you unstuck. Let's get you unstuck, and let's get you moving again. Okay? So thank you so much for watching. I pray this has been a blessing to you. I pray that you will go ahead on and share this with your family and friends, or other co-workers or other entrepreneurs that may need to hear this message. And leave a comment below and tell me, what are your time wasters? What have been wasting your time in your day? I like to see that. I like to know that. Thank you for joining me today. And once again, Shalom, y'all.